Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How many hours have you spent trying to learn English and yet still feel like you're standing in the same place? You open a video, you listen, you repeat a sentence. Then, 5 minutes later, you're scrolling again, lost, tired, guilty, and quietly whispering to yourself, "Why can't I stay focused?" But what if I told you, you're not distracted because you're weak. You're distracted because your brain is starving. Yes, starving, not for more content, but for depth. In this video, we're not going to motivate you. We're going to rebuild you, piece by piece, through English, through slow, focused, meaningful English that rewires your brain, rebuilds your confidence, and gives you your power back. Because here's the truth. The way you study English reflects the way you live. And if you keep killing your focus, you're not just delaying fluency, you're training your brain to stay lost. But if you stay with me until the end, I'll show you how to reverse that damage, how to study English in a way that heals your mind, sharpens your identity, and transforms your future. Not just for better vocabulary, but for a better version of you. He always thought he had a discipline problem. You know, the kind of guy who opens a book but checks his phone 5 minutes later. For years, he blamed himself. "I'm just lazy," he whispered at night. But one afternoon, something changed. He wasn't scrolling Instagram. He was staring at it empty. And then the thought hit him like a quiet thunder. What if I'm not lazy? What if I'm mentally starving? Because here's the truth no one teaches you. Attention doesn't die from overuse. It dies from lack of nourishment. Our minds are not tired because we work too hard. They're tired because they're constantly chewing on digital junk food, clickbait, dopamine hits, endless videos. He realized that his mind wasn't bored. It was hungry for meaning. So for the first time in years, he picked up a graded reader and read one paragraph, slowly, with his phone in another room. That paragraph felt like a warm meal. Each word had weight. He read it once, then again. The sentences weren't just English, they were reflection, they were focus. It reminded him of childhood when one story could transport him for hours. He wasn't distracted. He was just never given the chance to experience depth. Now he knew. Depth is oxygen. Without it, the brain suffocates. He started doing something crazy. He chose to study English without checking notifications. 5 minutes, that's it. No interruptions. The first time felt like climbing a mountain, but after a few tries, he realized this was peace. He wasn't multitasking. He was feeling the language, one word at a time. It felt like he had finally found the flavor of learning again. Multitasking had lied to him for years. It made him feel productive, but in reality, he was only collecting inputs without digesting anything. He watched 3 videos in 1 hour and remembered nothing. But when he did one listening activity with full presence, something clicked. He started absorbing English, not memorizing it, living it. One night, he sat down to listen to an English story. Just 5 minutes, no phone, no distractions. It was a graded reader, but it felt like a novel. His brain started connecting dots. "Oh," he whispered, "this is what real concentration feels like." His heart slowed down, his eyes softened, and his mind finally felt alive again. That was the moment he understood. Focus isn't something you force, it's something you feed. And the food, it's not more videos or more content. It's quality, stillness. One paragraph, read slowly. One story, listen to with presence. English stopped being a problem. It became a doorway. And that doorway was just opening. Because as he walked through it, something unexpected happened. The chaos returned, but this time in disguise. If you want to make sure your English never improves, here's a simple trick. Open 5 videos at once, skip all of them halfway, and convince yourself you're studying. That's how most learners do it. They confuse activity with progress. But jumping from video to video is like jumping from one relationship to another. You never build anything real. Let's be honest. The internet trains you to be impatient. 1 second you're watching a motivational video, the next second you're laughing at a cat dancing in a supermarket. And if you think your brain doesn't notice, think again. It's collecting fragments, not depth. If you want to scatter your English, keep switching inputs every 5 minutes. But if you want fluency, finish one chapter, slowly, even if it feels boring, especially if it feels boring. Want anxiety instead of progress? Study in chaos. Sit in a noisy cafe, half listen to a podcast, and scroll through your phone while pretending to learn. That's what most people do, and that's exactly why they feel overwhelmed. Here's a better way. Sit somewhere quiet, even for 2 minutes. Read one English paragraph out loud. No noise, no distractions. Let your brain breathe. You see, real learning isn't fast. It's quiet. It's repetitive. And that's why most people avoid it. They want excitement, not transformation. But if you want to build real fluency, you have to repeat. Watch one listening clip, then again, then again. It will feel boring. But suddenly, on the third listen, you'll hear something new. A word, a rhythm, a feeling. That's not boredom. That's mastery forming. But if you really want slow progress, here's what you should do. Avoid deep work. Do only the easy stuff. Watch English cartoons, but never speak. Read vocabulary lists, but never use them. Wait for confidence to magically appear, and wonder why, after 3 years, you still can't hold a conversation. You want results? Start your day with the hardest English task, the one you've been avoiding. Here's a secret. Your brain resists what helps you grow. That's why just 5 minutes of English journaling feels heavy, but scrolling for an hour feels easy. The mind isn't lazy, it's trained that way. And to untrain it, you need structure. Start small. One quiet reading session. 1 page, then stop. Let that stillness become your new standard. Most learners don't fail because they're not smart. They fail because they chase the new and ignore the deep. You don't need 10 apps. You need one ritual. You don't need more material, you need more repetition. Every time you go deeper, not wider, your brain creates roots, roots that hold, roots that remember, roots that grow fluency. And once you start growing those roots, something begins to shift. You stop chasing English, and you start becoming someone else entirely. For almost a decade, he studied English the way most people do. Podcasts in the background, YouTube videos on autoplay, apps with flashing notifications. It felt productive. Every day he touched the language, but never held it. He thought he was moving forward, but deep down, he was circling the same shallow pool, never learning to swim. His books were filled with highlighted lines, yet he couldn't hold a conversation. He could finish a grammar quiz, but couldn't express a feeling. The truth hit him slowly. He wasn't studying English. He was collecting noise. All input, no transformation. He watched everything, but understood nothing deeply. And his confidence? Paper thin. Then came the conversation that changed everything. His mentor, a quiet man, fluent in 6 languages, looked at him and said, "Stop jumping. Dig one well. Not 20 holes." That sentence cracked something open. The learner realized he had been chasing novelty instead of mastery. He didn't need more tools, he needed more depth. So he made a decision. One story, one audio, one small, focused ritual. Every day he would listen to the same 3-minute passage. No skipping, no multitasking, just full, conscious repetition. At first his mind resisted. "This is boring," it said. But after a few days, he started hearing the music behind the words, the rhythm, the patterns, the emotion. By the 2nd week, something miraculous happened. Without realizing it, he began shadowing the sentences out loud. His pronunciation softened, his timing improved, and more than anything, his confidence returned. He wasn't memorizing. He was embodying the language. It felt like he wasn't just learning English, he was rewiring his brain. People around him noticed. "Your English sounds different," they said. "You seem more fluent." But what they didn't see was the quiet discipline behind it. No flashy tricks, no miracle apps, just deep listening, repetition, focus. He built fluency the way you build muscle, slowly, consistently, silently. And something else happened too. The silence between his sentences disappeared, that awkward gap where he used to search for words. Gone. His thoughts began to flow. Not perfectly, but naturally. He was no longer translating in his head. He was thinking in English because he had trained his mind to stop jumping. That's when he realized fluency isn't loud, it's not fast, it's not even about confidence, it's about stillness. The stillness to stay with one sentence long enough to master it. The stillness to choose one source and go deep. The stillness to stop pretending he needed more time and finally take ownership of his time. And when that stillness arrived, so did something else. A surprising shift in his identity. Your brain is not broken. It's just overwhelmed. Modern learning pushes it to behave in ways it was never built for. You weren't designed to scroll endlessly, multitask constantly, and expect deep comprehension. Yet that's exactly what most English learners do. Consume more than they can digest, then wonder why nothing sticks. There's a term in neuroscience called cognitive residue. It means that every time you switch tasks, say, from listening to an English video to replying to a message, your brain leaves behind a trace of the previous task. That residue builds up. It clouds your focus. It's why you feel foggy even after hours of studying. You're not tired, you're fragmented. And then there's the dopamine trap. Your brain is wired to seek reward. Every time you open a new video, get a new like, or chase a new method, your brain says, exciting, let's chase that. But here's the problem. Dopamine helps you start, not retain. So you're addicted to beginnings, but allergic to endings. That's why you never finish a book, or a course, or even a single podcast episode. Emotion and focus are deeply connected. When your nervous system is overstimulated by noise, pressure, comparison, it can't focus no matter how motivated you are. You sit down to study English, but your mind is spinning. That's not a discipline issue, that's biology. And the solution isn't more effort, it's resetting your emotional baseline. Start small. Before your next study session, do 30 seconds of breath anchoring. Inhale through your nose. Hold. Exhale slowly through your mouth. This signals to your brain, we are safe, we are present, we are ready to focus. It's not spiritual fluff, it's science. Calm creates clarity, and clarity creates memory. Then comes the repetition. Deep, focused, boring repetition. Your brain doesn't grow from variety, it grows from familiarity. Every time you reread a page or re-listen to an English audio, you deepen the neural pathway. You tell your brain, this matters, save it. But if you only touch things once, your brain assumes they're unimportant and throws them away. Shallow learning feels fast, but leads nowhere. You collect phrases but can't speak. You recognize grammar but can't use it. That's the plateau most learners hit. And the only way to break through it? Go deeper. Read one graded reader page twice, then write about it, then speak about it. Let repetition be your rhythm. The more you repeat, the more you remember. The more you remember, the more you relax. And the more you relax, the faster you learn. This is the fluency loop, and it starts when you finally stop asking, what's next? And start asking, what can I go deeper into today? Because only when you stop skimming can you start transforming. Did you enjoy the content and it made a difference for you? Click on Super Thanks and support our work. There comes a point when you stop blaming the noise and realize the real battle is inside you. He used to think the problem was the phone, the apps, the distractions. But one night, as he stared at his open English book and couldn't focus for more than 20 seconds, the truth hit him like a quiet punch. It's not just my attention that's weak, it's my identity. Years of quick content had trained his mind to expect stimulation every 5 seconds. But worse, it had trained him to believe he couldn't focus. He would start a podcast and give up, start a book and abandon it. Eventually, he didn't just feel distracted, he felt broken. He whispered, maybe I'm just not made for this. That's when he realized attention loss becomes identity loss. So he began with something tiny, one new sentence, spoken out loud. I can focus for 5 minutes. He said it once a day, then twice, Then while studying, he wasn't just learning English anymore, he was reprogramming his own narrative. Because here's the truth, your brain listens to the voice in your head. If you say you can't focus, it believes you. If you say you can, even for 5 minutes, it starts trying. Deep work isn't just about grammar exercises, it's about facing your own mind. And that's not easy. Sitting with one English paragraph until it truly makes sense. That's uncomfortable. But that discomfort is where transformation begins. When you stop jumping and finally stay still, you meet the parts of yourself you've been running from, the fear, the boredom, the shame, and still, you stay. He started doing something powerful. Every time he sat down to study, he removed one distraction ritual. No phone on the table, no background music, no browser tabs. At first, it felt like silence was attacking him, but slowly, it became peace. The absence of noise became the presence of focus, and that changed everything. Then came the identity shift. He stopped calling himself an English learner. He started saying, "I'm someone who pays attention." That simple phrase became his anchor. When he studied, when he read, when he spoke, he reminded himself, this is who I am now. Not just someone learning a language, but someone rebuilding a brain, rebuilding attention, rebuilding presence. He wrote it down in his journal. I am no longer someone who skips, I'm someone who stays. He even said it out loud like a declaration. I pay attention, I build focus, I learn deeply. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about becoming whole again. Not the version of him that scrolls and forgets, but the one who listens, learns, finishes what he starts. And something else happened after that. A quiet kind of strength began to return. The brain loves rhythm, patterns, familiarity. And that's why most English learners fail. Not because they're not smart, but because they ignore how the brain actually learns. They want instant fluency, but ignore the neuroscience of fluency. And the truth is simple. Your brain doesn't grow with more. It grows with repeated precision. Here's the hidden key. The brain doesn't learn by memorizing rules. It learns by absorbing patterns. When you read a graded story aloud, slowly, clearly, your brain begins to recognize grammar not as rules, but as rhythm. It's like music. The sentence, "She had already left when I arrived," isn't just a rule. It's a pattern your mouth and ears can learn to dance with. And then comes repetition, not the boring kind, but the calibration kind. When you listen to the same 3-minute story every day, you're not wasting time. You're sharpening timing. You're training your brain to expect the sound before it even comes. That's when real fluency begins. Not when you know the words, but when you feel them coming. You've probably heard it before, don't watch the same thing twice. But neuroscience disagrees. Repetition is how babies learn. It's how musicians master flow. It's how top athletes build instinct. Why should language be any different? When you re-listen to a story, your brain relaxes. Familiarity becomes comfort. And that comfort opens the door to deeper memory. There's something called the comprehension breakthrough. It happens quietly. One day, after 20 listens, a sentence hits different. You hear the tone, the flow, the hidden meaning, and suddenly you understand it all at once. That's not magic. That's your brain saying, we've heard this enough. Let's store it deeper now. That's how language goes from input to identity. But most learners never get there. Why? Because they quit too soon. They think, I already know this story, but they don't own it. Knowing is not enough. You have to feel it, speak it, hear it, repeat it, until it becomes part of your nervous system. That's the power of deep work. It wires your brain permanently. So here's your new ritual. Pick one graded reader story. Just one. Read 5 lines aloud every day. Slowly. Like a poem. Then listen to that same story for 5 minutes. Then again. You're not wasting time. You're carving fluency into your brain, like a sculptor shapes stone, with patience, with precision, with presence, because once your brain feels fluency, your identity starts to shift. And when that shift happens, English stops being a struggle. It starts to feel like a part of you. You can tell when someone is focused. You see it in their posture. They sit with purpose, not stiff, but grounded. Their phone isn't on the desk. Their eyes don't dart around. Their presence says, I'm here, I'm in this. And when that person studies English, something magical happens. The language begins to settle inside them. It's almost strange to watch. They're not rushing. They're not chasing new material. They're just there, reading slowly, listening intentionally, one sentence at a time. And as you observe them, you realize fluency isn't loud. It's calm. It's quiet. And the more focused they become, the more natural their English sounds. Even when they say something simple like, I'm working on my fluency, there's an aura about these people, a quiet confidence. They don't speak perfectly, but they speak fully. Every word has weight, every pause has presence, and people around them feel it. Teachers assume they're advanced. Classmates look to them as examples, not because they're the smartest, but because they show up with clarity. That's the secret no one tells you. When you study English with focus, the world treats you differently. When you commit to deep work, your energy changes. You stop hiding. You stop apologizing. And that energy, that consistency, it echoes. It changes how others see your English and how you see yourself. So try this. Today, say just one sentence with full confidence. Look in the mirror and say, I am someone who learns deeply. Or say to a friend, I'm doing 30 days of focused English. Say it slowly, clearly, like you mean it. Don't wait until you're fluent to feel powerful. Feel powerful now, because you're building something that most people never will. This isn't about talent. It's about training. It's about creating a rhythm in your life where English is no longer a side project. It's a daily ritual. Schedule your next deep session. Write it down. Make it non-negotiable. Even 10 minutes of focused practice can rewire your entire relationship with the language. Because when you do this consistently, when focus becomes your new default, something shifts. English stops feeling like an obstacle. It starts to feel like a natural part of your future. Inevitable. Inevitable not because it's easy, but because you've made it non-optional. And yet even after all this, there's still one final test. A quiet voice that returns just before the breakthrough. Why can't I focus? He whispered one night, staring at his untouched English notebook. He wasn't tired. He wasn't busy. But something inside him was resisting, and then it clicked. Distraction had become his identity. He wasn't just losing focus. He was losing himself. Every skipped session, every unfinished sentence, every "I'll do it later." They weren't small decisions. They were acts of self-abandonment. He stared at the mirror and finally said it, I'm taking my mind back. Not as a mantra, as a mission. For 5 minutes he put his phone away, closed all tabs, and gave his mind the one thing it had been begging for. Stillness, silence, structure, that was all. 10 minutes of pure English, no interruptions. And afterward he felt something rare, pride. Okay, he asked himself next, what do I need now? Not a better app, not another video. He needed boundaries, a chair, a time, a plan, a moment of discipline to protect his attention like gold. So he wrote it down, a simple ritual, 10 minutes every morning, graded reader open, pen in hand. One paragraph, one slow breath, one shadowed sentence. Every repetition was more than English. It was identity work, because now he wasn't just practicing, he was becoming someone who doesn't chase English, someone who builds it. And then came the real question, who am I becoming? He paused. Not a perfect speaker, not a grammar expert. He was becoming someone who finishes what he starts, someone who learns with intention, someone who doesn't shrink from difficulty, who sees silence not as a threat, but as power. And in that moment, he made a decision. No big speech, no dramatic post, just one whisper, I'm ready. He opened his mouth and said out loud, I am becoming fluent because I show up even when it's hard. His voice trembled a bit, but it was real. That voice didn't just speak English, it spoke truth. The final realization wasn't poetic. It was practical. Deep work is only hard for a few minutes. But regret stays. It haunts your memory, your confidence, your future. 5 minutes of discomfort now, or 5 years of asking, why didn't I just try? So he ended his day with a 20-second English declaration. Not for anyone else, just for him. I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be consistent. That sentence was the beginning of everything. Now that you've reached the end, pause for a second and really ask yourself, what kind of English learner do you want to be? The one who collects resources but never transforms, or the one who chooses focus and lets that focus change everything? Because this wasn't just a video about English, it was a mirror showing you how your habits are shaping your identity, and how deep work is no longer just a study method. It's a way to reclaim the life you say you want. So ask yourself, what are you really avoiding when you avoid deep focus? What version of yourself is waiting on the other side of consistency? Remember, fluency isn't a reward you unlock. It's a reflection of who you become. And when you start showing up with focus, repetition, and intention, English stops feeling hard. It starts feeling inevitable. Now I want to hear from you. What's the one distraction you're ready to remove from your English routine starting today? What's one deep habit you're going to commit to for the next 30 days? Share your story in the comments. Let this be your declaration, not to impress anyone, but to mark the moment your journey truly began. And if this video helped you, even a little, then subscribe to this channel, like the video, leave a comment, and turn on notifications so you never miss these powerful stories that don't just teach English, they teach transformation. Because this isn't just about fluency, it's about becoming someone who finally pays attention to their future.